rain outside London feels heavier than usual. Inside a dim rehearsal room, 4 men sit in silence. Empty teacups, tangled wires, unpaid bills. They are Queen. A band that has tasted flashes of fame but not fortune. The truth is harsh. The crowds may roar, but the pockets are empty. Every show, every tour, every promise of success somehow ends with debt. Their management is in chaos. The record label is losing patience. For the first time, Freddie Mercury feels the edge of fear. The man who has always dreamed in color now faces a world fading into gray. The label wants something safe. A radio-friendly hit, 3 minutes long, predictable enough to sell. But Freddie was never made for safety. In his mind, he hears something bigger. A storm of piano, guitars, and voices colliding like an opera trapped inside a rock anthem. He sits at his piano late at night, candle flickering beside him, playing melodies that sound like secrets. What if a song didn't have to follow the rules? What if a rock track could become theater? Emotion, chaos, and beauty rolled into one. It was madness. But to Freddie, it was also salvation. The others, Brian May, Roger Taylor, and John Deacon, can feel the tension in the air. They're exhausted, broke, but there's still something defiant in Freddie's eyes, a kind of madness that feels contagious. In a world obsessed with formulas, he wants to build something eternal. That night, in that small room, Queen made an unspoken decision. If this was their end, they'd go out creating something no one could ignore. By mid-1975, Queen was running out of everything: money, energy, and faith. The band had spent years climbing, yet every step forward came with another blow. Their first 2 albums earned respect, but not stability. Sheer heart attack had brought recognition, but behind the applause were lawyers, debts, and sleepless nights. They were living 2 lives: rock stars on stage, survivors off it. Inside the studio, the mood grew tense. The laughter that once filled sessions had turned into silence. Arguments erupted over creative control, contracts, even food bills. Recording time wasn't just expensive, it was a risk. Every extra hour at the mixing board was another piece of debt they might never pay off. Freddie felt it most. The weight of expectation pressed down, yet his imagination refused to shrink. He hated the idea of playing it safe. He didn't want a hit single. He wanted a masterpiece. "I don't write songs," he once said. "I build worlds." That world was beginning to take shape in fragments. A ballad here, an operatic line there, a thunder of guitars to break it all open. He called it the cowboy song at first, a strange idea no one could quite understand. But Freddie saw what others couldn't: a 6-minute journey through guilt, freedom, and defiance. When he presented the idea to the band, confusion filled the room. 6 minutes? No chorus? You're insane. But Brian May only smiled. They were used to Freddie's brand of insanity, and deep down, they trusted him. The decision was made quietly but firmly. They would risk everything for this one song. Even if it destroyed them, at least it would be theirs. Pure, fearless, unapologetic. Recording began at Rockfield Studios in Wales, and what followed was unlike anything the band had ever attempted. Freddie became a conductor, commanding, demanding, unstoppable. He layered vocal harmonies until the tape reels physically strained. Each of the 3 voices, his, Brian's, and Roger's, multiplied into choirs of hundreds. "Again," he'd say after 12 hours. It's not perfect yet. For days, the band worked without sleep. Pianos, guitars, choirs, every sound pushed to its limit. Bohemian Rhapsody was no longer a song. It was architecture built in sound. Each section, ballad, opera, rock, connected like scenes from a grand play. There was laughter, exhaustion, and moments of doubt. But Freddie's vision never wavered. The lyrics were strange and mystical. Scaramouche, Galileo, Figaro. To outsiders, nonsense. But within them lived a storm of emotion, guilt, confession, maybe even redemption. When asked what it meant, Freddie only smiled. It's about nothing. It's just fantasy. But everyone knew the best art hides its truth in riddles. When they finally finished, 6 relentless minutes of music stood complete. Bold, unapologetic, impossible to define. But the real war was still ahead. At the label's London office, executives listened with frowns. 6 minutes? No radio will touch it. They demanded it be cut down. Freddie refused. Either release it as it is, he said, or not at all. The standoff grew bitter. Millions of dollars hung in the balance. But then came an unexpected twist. DJ Kenny Everett, Freddie's friend, got hold of a copy. "Don't play it," Freddie told him with a wink. Everett laughed and played it 14 times in 2 days. The public went wild. Phones rang non-stop. What is that song? Radio stations couldn't ignore the storm. The battle for Bohemian Rhapsody had just turned. By the time Bohemian Rhapsody officially hit the airwaves in late 1975, it was already a phenomenon. Listeners didn't understand it. They felt it. 6 minutes of madness that somehow made sense. Within days, it climbed to number 1 in the UK, holding that spot for 9 straight weeks. Critics had called it pretentious, impossible, even career suicide. Yet the world disagreed. The song shattered every rule, and the rules never recovered. From opera to hard rock to a piano ballad that whispered and roared at once, it turned sound itself into drama. More than a hit, it became a declaration. Creativity beats conformity. Behind the success, the band finally felt something new: freedom. No more compromises, no more begging for approval. They had proven that instinct could outlive industry logic. The same executives who mocked them now bragged about signing them. Queen had gone from desperate dreamers to untouchable icons, and the revolution didn't stop with the music. Their low-budget promotional video, shot in just a few hours, became a blueprint for the music video era. Long before MTV, Bohemian Rhapsody turned visuals into part of the story, merging sight and sound into a single experience. What began as a gamble became a cultural detonation. Queen wasn't just saved, they had changed the DNA of popular music. And as the song echoed across the world, Freddie smiled quietly, not in arrogance but in relief. Against every prediction, his madness had worked. Years passed. Trends changed. Yet Bohemian Rhapsody refused to fade. When Freddie Mercury died in 1991, the world returned to that song, not just as a memory, but as a farewell. Radios played it endlessly. Stadiums sang it through tears. The track climbed the charts again, transforming into a hymn of remembrance. What was once rebellion had become solace. Then, in 1992, 4 men in a car, headbanging to that very song in Wayne's World, brought it roaring back once more. Suddenly, teenagers who hadn't been born in the 70s were shouting "Galileo" at the top of their lungs. Bohemian Rhapsody had transcended generations, genres, and grief. It had become part of human culture itself. Decades later, streaming platforms, memes, and a billion YouTube views kept the flame alive. And when the 2018 biopic Bohemian Rhapsody reignited the legend, the song became not just a piece of history, but a living monument, proof that art can outlast time, technology, and even death. Looking back, it's almost absurd to think it was once called a mistake. That this masterpiece, born from debt, defiance, and dreams, became one of the most celebrated songs in existence. But that's the paradox of genius. What begins as madness can end as immortality. Bohemian Rhapsody didn't just save Queen, it gave them eternity. And every time that first piano note plays, somewhere in the world, another dreamer dares to believe that breaking the rules might just change everything. Every generation has a song that refuses to fade, a melody that outlives its maker. Bohemian Rhapsody was never just music. It was defiance set to harmony, pain turned into art. Freddie Mercury dared to believe that one impossible idea could outshine fear. And it did. If this story moved you, stay with us. Subscribe, share your favorite Queen memory below, and join us again for the next chapter behind the songs that changed our world.